Welcome back to Integrated Insights for week 3 of the Hammerhead cycle. You're
Howdy,
here with
team.
Zach Nothing and Callum Gifford, and we're just going to be bringing you our insights for the week coming. But before we get into that, let's just talk our highlights from last week. What were your highlights from last week's program, C?
Well, I won 2 workouts last week in class, which doesn't happen often anymore. Decided to drop the hammer on the front squat, farmer carry, squat clean workout, and I ended up winning that workout by quite a bit. And I had some decent competition in class, so that was my highlight.
Still
Can
got
still
it.
go sometimes, yeah. So yeah, that was mine. Enjoyed
Nice.
that, and then I didn't actually train the rest of the week because I'm in Queenstown. So
Beauty.
I only had 2 classes to choose from. How about yours?
Living the dream. Mine was the chipper on Friday, 1K run, 75 wall balls, 50 hand
Oh,
release
that's a
press
cool
ups,
workout.
and then the rope climbs. The hand release press ups, haven't done those for very long, for ages,
Ages, yeah.
and they absolutely rolled everyone. And so I managed to, my rep, I was doing like fours and fives the whole way through, especially
Jesus.
after those wall balls. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
liked it because it was still a workout that was relatively low skill, and so you could just push quite hard
yeah.
mentally. And that was I enjoyed that.
Hand release push ups are an original CrossFit movement that they tried to bring into standardized push ups as a movement across
Yeah,
everybody, which is interesting that they never get done anymore. So
yeah.
thought I'd
Well,
throw them in for fun.
as far as a competition movement goes, they would be quite hard to judge because you should have your hips up off the ground the whole time
Yeah,
through
for
that.
sure.
And I can tell you that my hips
Yep.
were, there's probably a few no reps in there from me, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest.
And everybody else, to be
Yeah,
fair.
if I'm being honest. All right, let's rip into it. Integrated insights. Talk to us. See, you're talking nutrition this week.
Yep.
What have you got for us? What insights have you got for everybody?
So I just want to talk quickly about nutrition timing or nutrient timing around your workout. So I think I mentioned this a little bit in the first week, but it's something that I'm always very, very aware of and conscious of for myself is nutrient timing around the workout, not only for the fuel during the workout and what I'm eating during the workout, but how I feel.
Mhm.
Because if I get that wrong, which I do occasionally, I feel like absolute garbage. In the workout, I did this a couple of weeks ago. I ate a pretty big meal at about 3:30, and then I did the 4:30 class in the city,
Mhm.
and I felt like a ton of bricks, a very, very slow ton of bricks. So with nutrient timing and also what you take in that time, it's very important to get that right for that reason. So I would usually suggest between an hour to 2 hours beforehand. An hour and a half to 2 hours would probably be quite ideal. That gives you time to digest everything that you've eaten, and for that to slowly start to become fuel for the workout. Now, in regards to what you would usually eat during that time, for me, it's never a big meal. It's usually maybe a protein bar and a banana, some kind of snack that, what like I say, is quite easily digesting. And also, by the time I work out, has started to become fuel that I'm going to use for that workout.
Yeah. Okay. So, in practical terms, for let's say people are training after work, that would mean that they need to have something ready, available, like sort of mid-afternoon, late afternoon.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So a lot of people and a lot of athletes that I program for do have this issue. They're like, I can't eat. I'm like, well, could you quickly scoff down a banana, or could you have a smoothie ready to go an hour and a half before workout with some
Mm.
banana in it and some kind of other fruit, maybe some frozen fruit, and a protein powder in there. Something that, once again, that is super, super quick to digest and easy for you guys to use as fuel during the workout, and hopefully is out of your system in regards to making you feel sluggish during the workout.
Yeah. And so, what about those that train first thing in the morning? How would they approach it?
Yeah, no, that's really hard. I personally, when I get up, I will, if I'm training first thing in the morning, so if I'm doing 6:30 or 5:30 class at the city, takes me half an hour to drive there. Not ideal, but I'm someone that does like to have something before I train. So I usually have a bagel, which like isn't a whole lot of food, but it's just enough to make me feel like we've got something in my tummy and I've got some kind of fuel there.
Mm.
But it is really hard, and that is kind of individual preference. Some people can train fasted, some people don't like to. At 5:30 in the morning, it's really going to be really, really difficult for you, and you're probably going to have to adapt and adjust over time to someone that's going to be training relatively fasted or on pretty low kind of
Yeah.
fuel at that point in the morning.
Yeah.
would be
And
my way of answering that.
and so most of the fuel that you'd be getting would be from the night before.
The night before, yeah.
And so making sure that you have something substantial for dinner. And then you could consider some sort of like carbohydrate drink or even like a
Yeah,
carbohydrate gel or something like that. That's just going to give you just that fast hit of carbs to be working off, or
yeah.
simply as small as having a banana or even half a banana. It's going to really
Half
be.
a banana. Yeah.
And
Like I
so,
say, for me, it's not really a fuel thing in the morning. It's just I like to have something in my tummy and know that I've had something to go down before I get on the gym floor.
and you'll notice, team, that we're hammering that we're talking a lot about eating around training and protein and getting your carbs in. And the reason we're doing this is because it's one of the most common uh, things that people forget to do or don't do that they could get a massive amount of improvement from.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know, as far as like when you get this right, you'll be like, oh my God, this feels so good. I have so much more
Mm,
energy for my training. But
yeah.
because you haven't done it properly for long enough before, that you probably don't see how valuable it could be for you and your training.
Yeah, and I would say short of a complete diet overhaul, this would be the number one thing you could do to improve your
Mm.
session or your training within that session to get the gains you guys want from those sessions.
Yeah, some low hanging fruit. Excuse
Yeah,
the pun.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep, nice.
All right. I'm talking to you about the mindset side of things, in particular about knowing your numbers. And so, what I mean by knowing your numbers is, first of all, it's really good to know how much you can lift, right? What you can squat, what you can snatch, what you can clean, because then that's going to be used inside of your percentage work. But more importantly, it's having some numbers in mind for how you feel on any given day as to what you would determine success. And
Mm,
so that could be when you come in and say, for example, tomorrow we've got some clean work, and coming into that session going, today I would be really satisfied if I could hit 60 kgs, 70 kgs, 80, whatever it is for you, having a number in mind. Now, this is about knowing yourself, which only comes with time. But it's something to pay attention to. Rather, like there's a lot of times where I'll talk to someone and I'll say, hey, what do you got on the bar? Or what'd you get up to? And they'll have no fucking idea what they've lifted in
mm,
that session.
yeah,
And which means you have no awareness for the future about what you're doing or where you got up to. And so when you're learning and while you're in these early stages, be aware of how much you have on the bar, and so that you
yeah,
can take that into future sessions and similar sessions and either push it a little bit further or at least have a target weight that you're trying to get around to in your session.
mm,
And not every single session you're going to come in wanting to like hit PRs, or you're not going to be feeling great. You might be beat up from sessions earlier in the week, and you might just come in and, hey, you might just want to come in and work on technique. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
absolutely fine. Yeah,
But there's still a number where that's kind of the optimal kind of number to be working on technique. And that's generally around 70% or above. And that's why we often have percentages programmed in saying start at 70% or start at 80%. That's because that's where you're going to be challenged enough that you actually have to improve your technique to be able to do the lift well. Whereas if you keep the weight so light that you aren't actually putting any sort of load on there, you can get away with technique and efficiencies, and you're not actually going to make the technical improvements that are required in order to lift that weight better. And so knowing what your max is quite important so that you can get around that weight. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a guideline as to where that improvement is made. And so
yeah.
knowing your numbers for where your maxes are, but also knowing a range of where you want to get to on any given day is going to be really valuable for you guys moving forward so that you can progress.
Yeah,
Any
I just want to piggyback off that real quick. I've had this issue with a lot of PT clients over the years. We put on empty bar, we put some tens or fives on each side, whether it's a male or female, and technique is still to that point pretty garbage. And I use that term loosely, but as soon as the weight starts going up and we start getting close to those percentages that Zach just mentioned, technique will usually sort itself out, and that is exactly because of the reason that Zach just talked about, which is you guys have to actually put some effort and intensity into the lift, and you have to actually think about what you're doing to get the barbell to your shoulders or up overhead.
Mhm.
So basically just reiterating what you just said, but yeah,
Beauty. All right. What's your workout of the week this week? Sea Dog, the G Wizzy.
Scroll across. Right, I've got two this week, but I'm going to
Oh,
choose
you get one. You don't get two. One.
yeah, one that I am a big fan of, that we've done many times in the past, which is the Choose Your Own Path workout, which is
I knew
on
you'd choose that.
Thursday. So day 4, yeah, I do like these workouts, only because I'm pretty good at breaking these down. But that's why. So we got a Choose Your Own Adventure workout, which means you can split the reps any way that you wish. 60 burpee box jump overs, 45 overhead squats at 60-40, and then 30 bar muscle ups. Quite high skill capacity in there with a lot of reps. And I really like these workouts in this particular workout because to get through it well and fast and smoothly, you have to be quite strategic on how you break the reps up. I'm someone that likes to break movements up into really small amounts of reps with a few more transitions, but I'm pretty good at making those transitions count and not fluffing around too much. So for me, I like the workout because it makes me it encourages me to think a little bit about what I'm doing, and I have to use my brain to actually break it up if I want to get a good time or do a good workout. So that's my workout for the week.
Are you going to break it up into like even rounds? Like, for example, 6 burpee box jump overs, 4.5 overhead squats, 3 bar muscle ups, or like,
So usually how I would break these up is I'll choose one movement that I can do more reps of. So for me in this workout, it'd probably be maybe around the overhead squats or the bar muscle ups that I can get done quickly. And I'll use some kind of weird rep scheme where each round I'll have more of one movement and then I'll break the other two up a little bit. So for something like this, it could be I do 3 rounds of 10 bar muscle ups and then 2 rounds within that first round of like 5 burpee box jump overs, 5 overhead squats, 5 burpee box jump overs, 5 overhead squats, and that's one round. And then I'll go and do that. Something like that. I'm not saying this is what I'm going to do for the workout, but I usually do something that encourages me to move well on the movement that I'm good at and faster at the movements that I'm not good at with lower reps, but more transitions within the round, if that kind of makes sense.
yeah,
It always works in my head, but yeah, it's complicated for other people when they're on the outside and no one knows what the fuck I'm talking about when I do it.
yeah.
But it does work, so that's why.
I'm just imagining that meme where you're like trying to connect all the different reps and
Yeah, yeah,
all
that's what it is in my
yeah,
head.
extremely complex. I'd go the complete opposite and go as simple as possible.
Yeah,
And
easy to easy.
I'd work off whatever my weakest movement is that I would slow down on.
Yeah,
So, for example, say I'd go to the bar muscle ups and I'd go, okay, well, for that many reps, I'm going to need to do smaller sets. So maybe go 3 bar muscle ups, and then pick an well, like 3 to 4 bar muscle ups, and then pick whatever that's going to evenly divide up in between the rest of those movements. Um,
yes, yeah,
put that into some sort of rounds like that. So, for example, almost
that
doing
easy
it
to remember.
as a 10 rounder,
Yeah.
with really low rep ranges on something like that.
What
Um,
I do really like about these workouts is that when you're in class and you're doing them, you have no idea where anyone else is at, and it's always cool or not cool, but to see where everyone else kind of finishes in relation to what you've done and what they've done. And when you're coaching it, it's cool to see people kind of figure things out
just
as they go along. And
it's just mayhem when you're coaching it.
yeah, it's awful to coach. You can't do anything. It's basically a cheerleading class, but it's cool to see what people come up with.
Yeah. Beauty. My workout is the super simple 2 rounder from Tuesday.
That was my second one.
Yeah. So 2 rounds for time, 60 alternating dumbbell hang snatches, 50 push-ups, just normal push-ups, not hand release, 40 box jump overs, and 30/22 calorie row. I like this just because it is simple, very low thinking, just going to break it up into pretty small sets, probably from the start, and just move at a nice, steady pace. That second round of push-ups, I think, will come to haunt a lot of people if you bite off too much more than you can chew in the first round.
Yeah.
And so it's just going to be about being strategic with those with how you break it up into what sort of sets you break it up into, and then pushing that last sort of 40 box jump and 30 cal row at the end there.
Yeah, for sure.
What
I
are your
do
thoughts
like
on
that workout. Yeah, no, I agree. I think for members, just be aware that by the time you get to the push-ups, you've done 60 hang snatches, which aren't going to tax your push in any way, shape, or form. So you'll feel pretty fresh when you get to the push-ups at that point in regards to the pushing off the ground. You'll probably have the inclination to do a few more reps than what you probably should. So just be aware of this. A workout like this is sped up on the back half of the workout, not what you do on the front half. So as Zach just said, it's 50 push-ups in the first round, but it's 100 total. And that is a lot for anybody. So just be aware of that when you guys jump in and you get to your first set of push-ups. Don't do a big set of 20 because you will be cooked for the rest of the workout. That would be what, I mean, that's how I would think about the workout when I'm going to do it as well. It'll be very small sets, very low reps from the very start.
Yeah, be sensible. Awesome. Well, that's it for us today, guys. Have an awesome week. Sorry.